Welcome to this Microsoft Teams for Education webinar. My name's Dominic, and today's topic will be focused on IT administrators who are using Teams for online education and business continuity. So if you are focused on either setting up Teams for the first time or have a particular interest in using Microsoft Teams online meeting capabilities for things like online classes, staff online meetings, and allowing people to be able to work together remotely from across multiple regions or even across the same city, this is the webinar for you. As part of the agenda today, we'll be talking about Teams for Education. I'll just be setting a bit of an overview if you are brand new to Microsoft Teams. Then we'll be talking about deployment, planning for governance, and scaling Microsoft Teams to all of your users through automation. For those new to Microsoft Teams, it is the hub for teamwork, bringing everything together into a single shared workspace where people can chat, call, work on files, collaborate within apps, and hold effective online meetings. Teams delivers a unique end-to-end meeting experience that brings back that human element of face-to-face interaction, while helping everyone stay focused before, during, and after the meeting itself. Teams is also available globally, meaning that you can collaborate with students not just in the same city as you, but between different countries around the world. And that's where I just want to show you quickly where you can see the international availability of Teams and Microsoft Online Services. So let me switch from the slides really quickly. Here you can find the international availability of Microsoft Online Services, and you can see there are only a few countries where Teams is not currently available. For everywhere else, this is where we can create an online learning experience using online Teams meetings and bring together students from around the world, whether they're in Australia, China, Germany, or let's say the United States, all into a single online learning classroom and online Teams meeting. And we also, of course, then have the ability to make sure this is an inclusive experience where our students are then also able to then use Teams and the Office services in their own language as well. The webinar today will be focused on what's possible with the free capabilities of Microsoft Teams for Education, and this is included as part of the Office 365 A1 licensing for education. This means right now, every single student and every single educator and staff member is entitled to be able to create online meetings where up to 250 people can attend. On top of that, you can also do cloud recording at no additional cost, meaning you can make that learning material that you covered available on demand for your students to be able to review as many times as they need to be able to go through those concepts that you had shared as part of your online classes and lectures. For those who require dial-in voice conferencing, or again, the ability to have much larger online meetings with up to 10,000 attendees, this is where we have discounted add-on capabilities as part of the paid licenses for Microsoft Office 365, but we'll be focusing for the intent of this webinar on what's included as part of the free capabilities itself. So what this means is every single educator, staff, and student is entitled to be able to host their own online meeting. So whether that's you inviting your students to be able to then attend your class or your lecture, or also empowering students to be able to host virtual study groups and online meetups. Everyone as part of Office 365 A1 licenses is entitled to Teams, which includes the 250 attendees for online meetings. I just want to quickly share the website where you can get more information about what's included, and if you're not already using Office 365, where you can get started. To get started, search for Office 365 Education, and if you aren't already using it, simply type in your school email address to get started here. But what I'll be focused on is you'll see the capabilities that are included as part of the Office 365 A1. So this gives you then the free online versions of Office, which is everything that you need, including then Microsoft Teams. And if you're interested in then as part of the other offerings, all the information that you need is here, or consult your Microsoft Education licensing partner. But heading back over to the slides. To bring Microsoft Teams to your institution, there's three key parts: getting started with deployment, governance, and automation. All of the technical documentation that you need is available from the link that you see on the screen, aka.ms/success with Teams. Beginning though with enabling Teams. When it comes to enabling Microsoft Teams, the first key consideration is making sure that your users have access to their Microsoft 365 user accounts. So this means that they have access to Azure Active Directory, of course, their identity, the ability to be able to use Office 365 groups, access to SharePoint Online and Exchange Online, as these are required then for users to be able to successfully use all capabilities of Microsoft Teams. Now, if you're currently using Google accounts today, good news, you also have the ability to use Microsoft Teams, and we have dedicated guidance to help you getting started if you visit the link aka.ms/Teams/edu Google. With those core foundations in place, next part is to, of course, make sure that your users have the licenses that they need to access Microsoft Teams, and you can find that information available as part of aka.ms/quickstart/edu. And this is then focused on a quick start guide specifically for enabling Teams for education for your users. Now, once you have then all of the foundations in place so your users have access to Teams, then the important part is to distribute to the clients. So Teams is available across platforms, meaning that whether you're on a Windows laptop or desktop, there is a desktop client available, Apple Mac devices, as well as also Linux. And then we also have apps available for smartphones and tablets. So you can, of course, get that through the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. And lastly, the ability for then users to be also able to use Microsoft Teams straight from the web browser. This means it's available across modern browsers. As a rule of thumb, we do recommend using the desktop client, but this is where you can get access to all of the apps available from aka.ms/getteams. The next stage is planning for governance. Governance extends to not just online Teams meetings, but how you then manage the entire Teams platform, because this is a digital hub that provides powerful online meeting experiences and also the ability to do chat, to have collaborative spaces for our students to learn together, for staff members to work together, and also the ability to then work with people external to your institution. Let me give you an example now of what a Teams meeting looks like and how easy and fast it is to be able to schedule. For this, I'm going to head over to the Teams desktop app. For those brand new to Teams, when you first open up the app, you will not be part of a team. Like you can see, I already am here, where I'm part of a business studies course, entrepreneurship, and I'm involved in a health research project, part of a staff department. The important thing to be aware of is you do not need to be in a team to be able to create an online Teams meeting. But you'll see that being in a team makes it much faster and easier for me to be able to meet with my students again over time, as well as also have a persistent learning space or a persistent space to work together with my staff colleagues. To create an online ad hoc Teams meeting, simply click on Calendar. If you do not see the calendar here, you do need to have Exchange Online. Now going over to, you'll see my calendar here is exactly the same as my Exchange calendar because they are one and the same. When I create an online Teams meeting, I simply go to a time and click on the time itself. And when it says new meeting, give it a team name. So we'll call this one Group 2 Meeting Online. The location, I'm going to leave this blank because this is an online Teams meeting. And then from here, I'm going to fill in a few extra details for the attendee. I can then invite people, or I can invite a channel to the meeting. When you invite people, you can invite anyone within your institution simply by their name. So if you can see here, I want to invite a student Douglas, Marsha, and of course, let's also bring in Rosie. Now this will then send a calendar invite to the students, just like if you were to send an Outlook meeting invite. They are exactly the same. The important thing to keep in mind about Teams is you also have the ability to invite people external to your institution using their email address. And that is not then just a Microsoft email address. This could be a Google email address. This could be another institution. So for example, if I type in an email like example@gmail.com or outlook.com, by simply clicking on this, that person's email will then be sent a calendar invite with then a meeting join link. The important thing to keep in mind is it is free for people to be able to then join a Teams meeting, even if they are external to your institution. You are not inviting them into your organization. This is a one-off Teams meeting. When I click on schedule, what this means is now you can see here that I have set up a online meeting with group 2. I've invited someone external. Let's give the example of this is from a local industry member, and I want them to give feedback on group 2's local startup pitch. And you can see here that the most important part is this creates then a Teams meeting join link. You can then send this join link however you choose to, but I would always recommend keep it part of the calendar invite, so that way then you can also see when people accept. But this meeting join link, simply you click it, and then anyone who clicks this link will be brought into this Teams online meeting. And as you saw earlier, you also have the ability as part of the add-on SKUs where you can also then have dial-in telephone numbers should you require it. Now this is quick and easy for me to be able to create an ad hoc team meeting with anyone, or for example, a set group of students. But what if then I want to have an online meeting with all of my students? I certainly don't want to have to type in 30 names, or if I'm doing a lecture, say 100 or 200 students. This is why it's so important that we create then a team where we're already together, whether that's a class team or a staff team. You may notice there's something different about this Friday meeting here. It actually says B102 Business Studies. Because here I haven't invited an individual student. What I've done is I've invited all of the students in my class team. The way that we do that is up on the top right hand side here, where I can then invite then all of the members of a team. Now this is how we have online meetings with all of our students, or for example, if we have a staff department, all of our staff members, very easily. Because now I can simply say I want to meet with all of my students because it's week 2 and we're going to be discussing the topic of market trends, and that means now all of the students will be invited to this online meeting. This is why it's so important that we then create teams for all of our students to then have an online meeting space, but also a persistent online learning space, or for our staff members, an online staff department as part of a virtual space. When I go and click on my meeting that I had already created, just in the interest of time, to join the online meeting, I can click the meeting link itself, and when I'm within Teams, it gives me a nice and easy join button. Here you can see I now can pick my video feed to make sure that you can see me. I can also do background blur if, for example, I'm in a shared workspace, and of course join with the microphone on or off. By clicking join, I've now joined this online Teams meeting. If I click show participants, I can see that I'm currently in the meeting, all of my students that have been invited. And because this was a meeting that I had just set up previously in the interest of time, you can also see some of the examples of conversations that we can have directly in the context of this online class. The last part that I really wanted to focus on is you'll notice it says meeting recording. Teams meetings is not just audio and video. We can then do real work and do real learning together, because I now have the ability to share my screen, which means I can then share the screen itself, whether I have then different slide decks I want to present to my students. I can share the entire desktop, which is great in low bandwidth. And what this means is I can then share any app on my desktop, whether it be something like Adobe Photoshop, and I want to talk my students through how to use that program. Anything on my desktop, my students will see. And I can even collaborate with my students through the Whiteboard, which is very, very powerful. I then have the ability to also, from that 3-dot ellipsis, as you saw there on the right-hand side, I have the ability to start a recording, which means that this will be available on demand for my students. I can then also have live captions. What that will then do is gives the ability to then have recorded meetings, as well as also creating an accessible, inclusive online meeting experience, which is very, very powerful. To finish, I simply press on the red button here. Going back over to the slides. While you saw it's very quick and easy to create a one-off Teams meeting, Where you would create a team is to then have that ongoing back and forth in, for example, a class or a staff department. And that's where you saw with the entrepreneurship course, I was then able to easily invite all of my students to an online lesson because a team was created. Teams have a life cycle from the initiation phase to the active phase where we're actively working together as colleagues or, for example, teaching a class to my students. And then at the end of that semester or the end of the project, then a team will be as part of its sunset phase. With the focus of the time that we have together today, I'll be focusing then around the creation phase and a few of the key policies to be aware of when it comes to that actively used phase of the team itself. Now, when it comes to team creation, it's important to remember that educators and students will get the most out of teams when there are minimal barriers. So going into the Teams admin portal and switching everything off will reduce the successful use of Teams, whether it's in teaching scenarios or staff working together. I would always encourage you to be very mindful about what your business requirements are and what you choose to disable within Teams. To be aware that by default, everyone can create Office 365 groups and teams, because fundamentally you need an Office 365 group to create a team. And you can see there on the right-hand side, if you have permissions to create a group, you will have then the Create Team button. And if you do not have permissions, you will not be able to self-create a team from within the context of the app. Now, this is where I certainly appreciate when it comes to younger students. We give you the ability to disable team self-creation. So, for example, in K-12 scenarios, but whenever you have more senior students, particularly also in further and higher education, this is where it's recommended to let everyone create teams, and then you can use policies like naming conventions and others to make sure it's still manageable within your environment while empowering your students and staff members to effectively work and learn together. If you're brand new to Teams, you will notice as a staff member when you click Create a New Team, there are 4 different team types, and these are designed to support the different scenarios that are unique to education. While all teams have the same online meeting capabilities, the same ability to work together in real time on documents, there are enhancements to then support the scenario. For example, using a team in a class will give you an assignment service, a OneNote class notebook, and by comparison, using a team with fellow staff members changes the type of OneNote notebook that you get, as well as also it doesn't have some of those class-specific capabilities. The staff team is then a team designed for school administration, as you see along the description there, and it has a OneNote staff notebook. In all other scenarios, so if you're not a staff leader as part of an administrative group, and maybe you're running a project team, or you're working together with other staff members, this is where all other scenarios are best served by the other team type, and students can only create the other team type. They are not able to create staff, PLC, or class teams. From the point of view of an educator or a staff member who then has a team where they're looking to add in either students or fellow colleagues, there are both self-managed options, and of course you can have then automated options which are managed by yourselves within the IT department. From a self-managed point of view, as a team owner, I can create an invite link, so that's a URL. When my students or colleagues click it, will invite them to the team. You can generate a join code, which when the students or staff members type in that code will automatically add them to the team, and you can also bring in people through a distribution list. From the IT setup perspective, this is recommended long-term that you put automation into place. So it should never be a scenario where an educator has to spend an evening manually typing in their student names or trying to send out invites to all the correct students. This is where we have the ability for you to create automation where it will then create both the class teams and also make sure that those class rosters stay up to date. And you can also do this for staff departments. One of the core parts of the initial activation phase of a team is making sure we have the right policies in place. And this gives us control over the team's experience for all of our users within our institution. Policies allow you granular control of everything from the team itself to meetings, messaging, live events, app permissions, setup, calling, and more. And where I just wanted to highlight a few common scenarios and things to be aware of. In K-12 for students, this is where we typically will see often a requirement to, for example, turn off private chat. So for example, the students can only chat within the context of a team where the educator can see what is being said. By default, students will then only have a strict content filter applied to any GIFs that they use as part of the conversation space. So it's a great way to keep that conversation interactive, and it also makes sure that only appropriate content appears for students. A powerful one is the ability to also translate messages. So this is quite useful, particularly if you have students where maybe English is a second language, or if they're in a different country, whatever the languages are that you have, this means students can then translate it to their own language that they might require within the context of the team. Switching off the ability for students to be able to then send urgent messages using priority notifications in private chat, and then removing people from group chats. When it comes to settings then for meetings, again, if you do have particularly younger students, this is where you have the option to be able to switch on or switch off the meeting capabilities, and this is also then the case when it comes to things like live events, callings, and then also creating private channels within a team. Now, for those who are saying, well, where do I go to actually then create these policies? This is all achieved through the Admin Center for Microsoft Teams. You can get there directly from the URL that you see on the screen, which is admin.teams.microsoft.com, but I'll show you how you can get there directly just from the main Office homepage and take you through then the process to get to the Admin Center itself. So heading over now to the desktop, to get to the admin portal for Microsoft Teams, all you need to do is remember just to go to office.com. This gives you access to all of the Office 365 online services and of course the admin tile for yourself as an administrator. Clicking on the admin tile will take you through to the admin center, and from here you can manage all of your users, and by clicking on show all you can then see all of the different capabilities in the admin portal, with the very important one that you can see here for Teams itself. Clicking on Teams will then take you to that URL that you saw before, which is then the admin portal for Microsoft Teams. From the Admin Center, this is where you have everything that you need to be able to manage teams across your organization. I can go through and I can see all of the teams in my environment, the team's policies at a holistic level that I have, meeting devices, my users, and in particular, when we were talking about policies before, this is where you can start to set your meeting policies, messaging policies, apps, and so forth. You can also see the ability for analytics and reports, how actively Teams is being used. And when it comes to things like online calling and online meetings, you can also use the call quality dashboard to get insights into the experience for your attendees and for your institution, and also to network and resolve if you are seeing there's maybe some performance issues with the way that your network is configured. This is where you can get some excellent insights into the online meeting experience for your users. When it comes to then creating policies and managing policies, if we go to the example of, say, Teams meetings, clicking on meeting policy, I have now the ability to, by default, I will have a global org-wide setting. Now this is then applied to all users. As a rule of thumb, a good approach here is to leave the global default for everyone, and then if you do need to make changes for subgroups of users, create an additional policy. For example, if you have most of your users are students, which is often the case, leave the global as whatever set of policies you want to apply to students, and then you can create a separate policy for that smaller group of staff members or educators that you have. If I want to change the settings that's being applied right now, I could quite easily click on global. And from in here, this is where I have the ability now to switch on and switch off all of the different meeting capabilities. For example, if I wanted to not allow people to be able to request control within an online meeting, we could switch that off here. And again, whatever settings that you might have for your requirements for your institution, this is where you can control them from the meetings policy. To create a new meeting policy, you just simply click on add. I can call this one, let's say, all staff. And from here, this is where I could make any of the changes that I might require for my staff members. For example, if we didn't want them to share notes, which for whatever reason you might have, but usually I would leave that on. Just to show you the example, this is where I could switch that off and go through and then click on save. What this does is this now creates a new policy that I can apply to my users. The thing to keep in mind with the way policies work within Microsoft Teams, it's per user. What this means is it gives you a lot of granular, powerful control. So you can choose then multiple different policies to be applied to different groups of users. For example, if you have different types of staff members, you could create different sets of policies, or even if you wanted to have, for example, a policy that applies to maybe primary school students versus secondary school students, this is where you can create as many of these policies as you need. To apply policies then to a user, I simply go over to the user section. And from here, I can then see all of the users in my organization itself. And you saw before I had Cara Coleman as just one of the examples. If I click on Cara, I can then see Cara's profile. I can go through, I see that she's had a good quality of experience when it comes to then within the context of using Teams. We can see any of the call history, voice, and the policies that are applied right now to Cara. For example, if I wanted to make an edit to the policies that are applied, this is where I can say, actually, Cara, I'd like you to have the all staff, for example, policy that you saw me make a few moments ago. Now, this is how I can go through and then apply policies per user. But if you're managing hundreds or thousands of users, I'm not suggesting that you manually go through and click this for every single user individually. What you can do is you can bulk edit up to 20 users directly within the user interface. But again, for large scenarios, this is very much where we would recommend using PowerShell. PowerShell allows you to be able to quickly then assign policies across all of the users that you require. So you shouldn't be manually going through and clicking edit all the time. This is where you would create a PowerShell script that would then apply, for example, the all staff policy you just saw me create when it comes to meetings for my staff members. And to be able to find the documentation, simply search for Microsoft Teams PowerShell. And this is where we have all of the public docs available for you, so that way you can successfully manage then your teams through PowerShell and policy assignment. The same process then holds true whether we want to do meeting policies, app policies, and many more. All of this is we just simply go through and create the policy or change the existing org-wide defaults, and then from there, using PowerShell, or if you would like to manually go through, this is how you can then quickly assign these policies to your users. Heading back over to the slides. Now, because it's so important for staff members to be able to easily meet with their students or their colleagues, and being part of a team makes it easy to do so, this is where we have free automation tools available to you to help automate the creation of class teams, as well as also different staff teams. The first option is School Data Sync, and this allows you then a series of capabilities to then work with your student information system to then both create teams and make sure the membership stays up to date over time. For those who are using PowerShell today, this gives you the ability to then create your own scripts to create both class teams as well as also the other team types, and this is really well suited with the ability then to also then have teams, for example, staff departments. Lastly, the Graph APIs give you the most control over the team lifecycle and creation process, giving you advanced capabilities that PowerShell does not. So for example, the ability to add in apps, as well as also manage the entire lifecycle through to archival of the team itself. Now, we'll be focusing a bit more then on how do you have the class team aspect automated, because School Data Sync then provides a fantastic set of services to streamline this process for you. For those who haven't used School Data Sync before, what it does is it talks to the information provided by your student information system and allows automatic class creation as well as also management. And what this is doing is taking that student information system data, bringing it into Azure Active Directory and Office 365, and it will then create then teams appropriate based on the SIS data that you send it, making sure that educators are able to then focus on the teaching through Teams, OneNote, Office 365, rather than having to focus on manually creating and setting up the correct permissions so students are part of the right classes that they should be included in. It also has other enhancements to be able to interact with Intune, as well as also providing advanced capabilities to do things like a weekly email digest to guardians. For those who haven't set up School Data Sync and would like to get started, if you visit the website sds.microsoft.com, all of the documentation that you need is available to deploy the free service. And if you would like deployment guidance, the team also provide guidance support from aka.ms/SDS signup. The process to deploy School Data Sync is fairly straightforward. You can then use either an API or a CSV. Step 1 is to create a profile with your SIS data, to then sync that profile. So this is where if you are using the CSV, you can then just make sure that you have the correct attributes aligned with the documentation you see there on the screen. We have then the ability to make sure we have the correct teachers mapped to the right classes, and then of course making sure that the correct students are correctly mapped to the right classes itself. And you can then also customize the experience. For example, SDS allows the ability where then a class team is created where only the teacher can then access it, and then the teacher can choose when it is activated for their students, as well as also powerful capabilities around grade sync. That takes us to the next steps for our webinar today. We have a few resources to help you get started if you're brand new to Teams or would like to take your Teams deployment further. Firstly, all of the documentation around remote learning is available from the URL you see there, Teams edu remote. We have then also advanced webinars that go into a lot more depth around management of Teams, and particularly of the policies and app management that we didn't get a chance to cover today as part of the Teams edu webinars. And then lastly, we have on-demand technical training as part of the Teams Academy. Following those links on your screen there will take you then to free resources to help you get started with Microsoft Teams for online learning and remote collaboration. Thank you very much for joining the webinar today. For those who are joining us live, please make sure to fill in the questionnaire following this, and thank you for your time.